Have you ever wondered how to copyright your music the right way? Well, guess what? I have 5 requirements to do it properly. Find out next, coming up on the Music Money Makeover Show. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Music Money Makeover Show. I am Casey Graham. This is Season 2, Episode 5, and I want to give a brief introduction about this topic today. There are 5 requirements that are required for copywriting your music properly, and I'm going to list them. So before I jump into that, I just want to give a brief history of how copyright works and where it came from, okay? So copyright began in England, and it was enacted in 1709, right? And this was really the U.S. hadn't produced a copyright law at that time, and it only showed up around 1790 in the U.S. And the laws basically looked the same as it was in England, being that we came over from England. Well, I didn't, but people came over from England. They just kind of adopted the same laws that were going on in England. Now, there were a couple of things that have happened since the enact of the 1790 copyright law, but I just want to skip all of that and I want to jump forward into the 1976 Copyright Act. And the main thing that was beneficial in that act was the fact that you could actually not make a piece of music or book or whatever it is and have it published to the public in order for the copyright to be valid. You could now, preceding that, make a book or a piece of music and put it in tangible form in order for the copyright to actually stick. This might be what some people will call the poor man's copyright, but it can work, not in court, and I will dig into that as we go through, all right? So let's check out number 1. Now, number 1 is the notice, all right? So it'll say something like, copyright Music Money Makeover 2020, all rights reserved, or copyright the Music Money Makeover Show, all rights reserved 2020. Somewhere, anywhere on your tangible form of medium, you want to place this, whether it be in the actual YouTube video, at the end, in the description, on an ebook that I write, whatever. You know, the notice is the first requirement for the copyright. Now, this is great because let's say you don't actually copyright something with the U.S. Copyright Office. At least you have a tangible form and a notice there, and this will be beneficial for you as you move further down the line and going through the process of copywriting your work. Now, in 1989, the U.S. joined the Berne Convention, right? And this provided copyright protection for the whole world, all right? So they joined a collection of countries around the world, and then that gave you protection around the world, all right? And so now the copyright, if you register in the United States, it will now go to, I want to say about 144 countries. I did it in a previous show. Off the top of my head, I remember the number 144, but those countries made your copyright valid, and all of these countries follow the same copyright law. Now, for number 2, I'm going to throw out something on the screen, so we're just going to pop it up. Bing! Publication is the distribution of copies or phonorecords of a work to the public by sale or other transfer of ownership, or by rental, lease, or lending. Publication is really that simple. I mean, here's where people get it confused. When most of you artists or creators make something and you sample someone's work, this is where most people get it confused. They say, oh, this is for promotion only. Well, that's not true, because let's say if you publicized it, meaning you put it out with a copyright notice, then you are actually infringing, all right? And you don't want to do that. Now, here's why and where you're infringing, because this free service or piece of music that you used and you sampled from, I'm talking to all of you rappers, you beat tape makers, and the likes of, when you do this, you actually are getting value from it, right? It might not be in the form of dollars, but you're getting a following, an audience. And when you do that, you're infringing on the copyright because you're creating some type of value from someone else's work. That is infringement, all right? So I just want to put that little tidbit there. Let's jump into the next one. Now, this is number 3, all right? So this one right here is a little bit in-depth. I'm going to throw a couple more things up on the screen. I want to make sure that you all have this, and I want to get this right for you, all right? So So we're talking about registration here. In section 410C, this section automatically makes registration certificates sufficient evidence for the validity of the copyright and the facts stated in the certificate, but only if registration is made before or within 5 years of the publication of the work. Now, that may sound confusing, but I have to break this down for you. All right. So before I give you a couple examples, I want to give you some more things here. Also in section 412, it provides that no award of statutory damages or attorney's fees can be made for, one, any infringement of copyright in an unpublished work commenced before the effective date of its registration. Let that breathe for a second. Or, two, any infringement of copyright commenced after the first publication of the work and before the effective date of its registration, unless such registration is made within 3 months after the first publication of the work. Look, I get it. All of this sounds confusing. I'm going to break it down with 3 quick examples, all right? Because this is important. This is what makes your copyright valid. This is what gets you what is called statutory damages, all right? Statutory is a fancy word that just means the law. That's it. It will get you the lawful damages that you are owed that the federal government put in place or that Congress put in place. Okay, so let me give you an example of how this statutory damage works. All right, so let's say Johnny, who's a songwriter, released his song on January 1st, 2020. And then Ronnie was the infringer and he infringed on the copyright on March 31st, 2020. However, Johnny registered the copyright on March 30th, 2020. I had to remember that, all right? March 30th, 2020, exactly 90 days after the publication of the work. When Ronnie infringed, he actually will get sued for those statutory damages, all right? Statutory damages, all right? Because Johnny registered on time, 90 days after his release. Let's go to the second example. Now, Johnny put out his song again on January 1st, 2020. All right? And then Ronnie infringed on it on, let's say, March 30th. All right? However, Johnny did not register the copyright until the 31st. All right? I just swapped the dates. Because Johnny didn't register until the 31st and the infringer had it happen during the 90-day period, and Johnny didn't register until a day after, he does not get to sue for statutory damages. He has to sue for actual damages, all right? So he lost out on what the law would allow. Now, let's go into the third example. Example 3. Let's say that a producer put out some work in January of 2020. However, they didn't register until October 2020. So it's a pretty nice length of time. The infringer came along and infringed in December of 2020. That's 2 months after the registration took place. Will they get the statutory damages that they are lawfully allowed to get? The answer is yes, they will. Why? Because they registered before the infringement took place. Even though they're well outside of that 90-day period, the infringement took place down the line, and they did it within a 5-year period of what the government allows. Remember I said that earlier? All right, so that's enough for the examples. Let's finish this up really quickly. Number 4, original works of authorship. All right, so this is easy. I mean, come on, this is the fourth requirement. The work has to be original. It doesn't get more simpler than that, right? So make some original work. Even if you are sampling some tunes or whatever you're sampling, it's still original. You just have to get it cleared from the other person who owns that copyright, and then you and them will come together and converge on the new copyright of this new piece of property. All right. Number 5. Number 5 is just the simple fixation in tangible form. All right. You want to make sure that your work is fixated in something tangible. Now, I get it. We don't really have CDs, and most people aren't printing vinyl, even though you can. But the tangible form means putting it out where there can be a copyright notice displayed, i.e. the streaming service or a SoundCloud or Bandcamp or something like that. All right. You want to put this stuff in fixated form. All right, so those are the 5 requirements for the copyright. You want to have an original work. You want to put it in a fixated form. All right, you want to register this work, preferably 90 days or less after it comes out. You also want to have this work publicized or put out, right? Okay, I know fixation and publication can go together, but you want to have it publicized correctly. And then number 5, you also want to give proper notice. All right. Hey, anyway, that's been it for the Music Money Makeover Show this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe below. If you learned something, go ahead and click subscribe. Go ahead and check out the other videos. Oh, before we go, don't forget to download a free copy of my music profit money maximizer checklist right down below in the description. It's free. Go ahead and download it. I promise you, some of these places you've never heard of before where you can go get money for the songs that you produce. I'll see you next week. Peace.